Hello everyone, and welcome to something a little bit different. My name is Tommy Wave. Today, we're going to be going through not a budget deck, not a deck at all. We're going to be going through some of the brand new Boomsday announcements. So for those of you who aren't aware, haven't had your ear to the ground, Blizzard has just announced the Boomsday Project, which is the next Hearthstone expansion. They've got a couple of spoilers up, and I thought we'd go through them here right now with Twitch chat as well. So let's take a look at the first card that we've got here. Well, it is Spider Bomb. So this was to show off the magnetic mechanic. So magnetic means if you play this minion to the left of a mech minion, it will essentially do the Build-A-Beast thing, and you'll combine both these minions together, and the existing mech will gain the Spider Bomb stats, and it will also gain its Death Rattle. So I haven't thought too much about this this kind of card. I think just like when we got like Gnomes versus Goblins, the set will have a lot more mechs within it, and we can't really tell if there's going to be like a Mech Warper type card in there. So this is, I think, one that I think we're going to have to wait on. But it does have some interesting combinations right now. We can actually go through and take a look at some mechs that are in standard. So we've got Scorpomatic, which is actually pretty sweet one. I'm hoping that this sees some tech play. Harvest Golem, Nightmare Amalgam, all these things are pretty good, but like I said, we'll need some more mechs to really truly tell how this one's going to go. But magnetic as a mechanic seems pretty interesting. Like any time that Blizzard releases a card or cards that revolve around positioning on the board, you know, a lot of people really love chess. They love the like adjacency and things like that. A lot of people love the idea of cards like Flame Tongue Totem, meaning you have to care about where you place your minions and where minions are vomited out. So I think this is really cool, and hopefully we see more cards like this, and that magnetic is a mechanic that sees a little bit of play. Alright, what do we got next? Next. Oh no. Do the thing. There we go. We'll look at Biology Project. So this is a card that I love. If you saw my budget preview video for Witchwood, one of the cards I outlined was Forest Guide. In fact, if you saw when we played the Mill Druid list, that was a Forest Guide deck, and I was so happy to play it. And essentially these kinds of cards, they function on the same axis, and that is symmetry and pseudo-symmetry. So the best way to describe this is we look at Biology Project, and it's 1 mana. Each player gains 2 mana crystals. So you're ramping both players. You actually lose a card as well because you have to play the Biology Project. But that's kind of balanced out by you, because you don't gain empty mana crystals. You can use the mana crystals this turn. So you actually, it's also an innovate in a way. But a lot of these symmetrical cards are only symmetrical if you're both playing a similar style of deck. Okay, so if you think like, oh, this is a Druid card, I'm going to play this in let's just say a ramp Druid. You know, lots of things at the top end, not a lot at the bottom end. Obviously, this card's quite bad if your opponent's also doing the same thing. You're helping them achieve their goal, and you lose a card for it. But this is really interesting if, for instance, you were on that big Druid deck and you're up against, say, an odd hunter, a really aggressive deck. Yes, you're giving them more mana, but that's a deck that doesn't have a lot of very high mana cost cards. You know, you might be giving them some immediately the ability to vomit onto the board, but your deck is better set up to utilize these mana crystals, if that makes sense. Just like with Forest Guide, even though it does give both players cards, if your deck is better set up to be more efficient, be more effective with its cards, then you can take better advantage of giving your opponents cards, etc., etc. So the biology project is apparently part of a cycle of projects, and all the projects benefit both players. So I'm really excited to see where this design space goes, but also a little bit wary because in some games in the past, pseudo-symmetry has been an extremely big issue. In games like Magic, where you have a lot of prison decks that kind of essentially stop both players from doing things and then try and like nickel and dime their opponent out. Even Game of Thrones had some issues with pseudo-symmetry, so we'll see what happens with all of these. But I'm excited but cautious. Next, we'll take a look at the Omega Defender. So this is... Ooh, where are you going there, Omega Defender? So the Omega cards are, once again, another cycle. So all the Omega cards care about you having 10 mana crystals. And this is very similar to actually a lot of card designs in Shadowverse. So it's a 4 mana 2/6 with Taunt. So this is a Stegodon. And Battlecry, if you have 10 mana crystals, gain plus 10 attack. So I think it's important to note there that it doesn't spend those 10 mana crystals. If you have 2 of these on turn 10, you can have 2 12/6s. But this is a really interesting card. You know, obviously at 4 mana, a deck like, we'll say this, like Token Druid or something like this. At 4 mana, Druid has access to a lot more powerful cards than a 2/6 with Taunt. But it's also a deck that does get to 10 mana pretty regularly. This thing flips off of an Oaken Summons as well, which may or may not be a good thing. You might prefer to have it in the deck for when you do hit 10 mana. But this is a really interesting design. I think it's going to be quite strong. I think especially if the cards are designed this way, like with these kind of stats, there's not too much of a disadvantage to playing this over your other options. You know, if we look at even if we just take a look at neutral forecasts, what do we got in here? Like, compared to Chain Gang, like, yeah, Chain Gang maybe just a slight bit better. Spellbreakers, Twilight Drakes, obviously class-based 4-drops, so in Druid. We have the Ironwood Golems, Astral Tigers, Shell Shifter hasn't been seeing a lot of love. But the cost is... definitely worth thinking about, but I think that the way that it is right now, I think it's not too much of a cost. Hooked Reaver plus this guy would be nuts for Warlock. Yeah, sure. So like once you hit late game, you can start dropping really big dudes. Though maybe maybe if you did that, you'd be going too far down the route of having like late game cards that also function in the early game. Like, you still want to have some powerful cards, but I think they function on a really similar angle. And yeah, maybe there is like a Warlock deck out there that's gonna like turbo tap down and try and like hit like a really good tempo mark with like Hooked Reavers and Omega Defenders after they've like after they've Gul'daned. So interesting card, and I think it'll be fun to see what they do with all the other Omega cards. Like, let's take a guess at what the next one would be. So this is the epic one. So maybe there's a rare one, and it's like a 3 cost. What would it be? What's a 3 cost from Classic? It'll be maybe it'll be a Scarlet Defender, but if you have 10 mana crystals, it'll get plus 10 plus 10 toughness, something like that. Or if they're all going to be attack, maybe it'll be like an Emperor Cobra. That's what I think they'll do. I reckon all of these, or it could be a farce here. I think all of these Omega cards will probably end up being base stats, like pretty regular. But we'll move on from there. We have the first legendary that was spoiled, which is Elektra Storm Surge. So Shaman legendary, 3 mana, 3/3 battle cry. Your next spell this turn casts twice, and it is an elemental. So I guess what we need to do with Elektra is take a look at some Shaman spells. The good thing is, at the moment, we have Zap in the format. So at the very least, that's like a pretty nice interaction. What else have we got? Actually, Blazing Invocation is a pretty nice value play, but then again, are you really looking for value in the class that can play Shadowwalk? What else can we do? Unfortunately, all the really spicy spells kind of end up being at 3 mana or above. 6 mana to 6 mana to Lightning Storm your opponent twice. I guess that's kind of cool. You get to keep your body around. You're not really doing much the turn after, but that is kind of interesting. I guess we'll have to see how things fall with the next set, if there are any other interesting cheap Shaman spells, particularly ones that don't involve a single target. Like even a card like Forked Lightning with Elektra is actually kind of interesting. But yes, definitely seems like one of these legendaries that doesn't exactly create a new archetype, but might fit nicely into one and be a good role player there, be a good body, and potentially a nice combo card. Alright, and the last one is Mira's Unstable Element. Mira's Unstable Element. So, oh my gosh, it truly is unstable. Alright, so I think this is a rogue spell. I can't quite tell from the border. Someone in chat can let me know. But this is the first of the legendary spells. We had all the Death Knights, we had all the legendary weapons, and now we're getting legendary spells for every class. So this says, for 5 mana, draw the rest of your deck, which is this card is really hard to evaluate. Like, I guess when you're getting to the late game, you can fire this off and just have the rest of your deck to kind of combo out with. It feels like there's definitely going to be some combo potential with this, but I think that I don't know. I think looking too deep into this right now is not the greatest idea. Things will change, but yeah, I can't really think of anything. What would the animation be like if you cast it on turn 5? It would be like, I assume it'll be one of those things where it'll speed up the animation. Maybe it'll like burn all the cards at once. Yeah, the current burn animation is a bit too slow. But yeah, I don't know. I guess something to think about. Like, yeah, you could, if you play both your Faldor Eyes, then when you play this, you will probably get a bunch of spiders, but you also might burn a bunch of spiders. Who knows? Maybe there'll be interactions with this card, and like whenever you burn cards, do a thing. So it's kind of interesting. Anyway, so other than that, there was no other real interesting announcements other than the Mega Bundle announcement. So in addition to the normal pre-order, which is 50 packs, a card back, all pre-orders will get a random golden legendary from the set, which is pretty cool. I don't know if this is going to replace the old, them just giving you a legendary for launching the game. I imagine not. I also don't know if this is going to replace the guaranteed legendary in your first 10 packs. I also doubt that. But they've also introduced this new bundle, which is the Mega Bundle. So you still get the random golden legendary. You still get the card back. You get 80 packs instead of 50. You obviously do pay for those. And you also get the new Warlock hero, which is Mecha Jaraxxus. And, oh my gosh, Mecha Jaraxxus does look pretty spicy. Let me see if I can get a picture up for y'all. Save. Oh my gosh, this boy. Here we go. Ah, look at this. Get free advertising bucks, Blizzard. That's the Mega Jaraxxus hero right there. Looks pretty. They put the animation up. Looks pretty good. Yeah. So that's about it as far as Boomsday goes. There were some patch notes for the latest expansion as well, which does include some card changes. Mostly, it's kind of fixing some card types up. So let's actually go through. Okay. So the first thing is Molten Giant, Mountain Giant. These are both elementals now, which is interesting. Arcane Giant, I guess this isn't an elemental. So this has a couple of implications. We've mentioned in chat you can get it off of Sandbinder now, which is an interesting interaction for Standard. And that, yeah, Servant of Kalanos can discover these cards, which is Mountain Giant's pretty relevant off of Servant of Kalanos, but I don't think you're playing Servant in Wild, unfortunately. What else do we have? Witchwood Piper, now a demon. So I guess this kind of clears up as to whether this was like we were actually talking about it last night, whether this is a satyr or a succubus, or any demon on a demon on the same kind of spectrum. So that's good. Also, whilst we're on this page, Witchwood Grizzly changed art, so it no longer looks very ghostly and spectral. Looks like a bear with a silver lining. A bear with a lot of hope. You can see the bright side of things. Good on you, Mum. What else? North Sea Kraken. Now a beast. So I guess Krakens are beasts now. If we ever see another Kraken, which might tell us that we are seeing another Kraken in the next set. And Jungle Moonkin is no longer a beast, I guess. I'm not sure if there are any other Moonkin. There is a Dark Mire Moonkin, and it is also not a beast. So consistency is good. And yeah, other than that, it's just bugs and gameplay fixes. So thanks for checking everything out. I might drop another one of these whenever we get some more spoilers. Maybe I'll actually do like a background or something for this. But hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, stay wavy.